und herzlich willkommen zu unserer neuen Folge von CRO Kaffee Deutschland. Wie immer habe ich die wunderbare Yvonne neben mir. Hi Yvonne.
Hi zusammen.
Und ich bin Michael. Heute haben wir was sehr Besonderes für unsere Hörer ausgedacht, deshalb nicht verwundert sein. Wir sind zwar CRO Kaffee Deutschland, aber werden die Episode heute auf Englisch aufnehmen. Der Grund ist recht simpel. Today we are having Scott Voigt here. Yeah, he's the CEO of Full Story. And because he's based in the US, we will record this episode in English, but we will do a summary episode afterwards in German. So for all of you that are preferring German language, we will also have a very short summary episode with Yvonne and me afterwards in German. Yeah. So that being said, we are very happy and honored to have you here, Scott. Yeah.
Guten Tag.
Very good. So we can do it in German, yeah?
I think we can switch again.
Yeah. Scott, you're based in Atlanta, I guess.
Atlanta, Georgia, yes.
And it's straight in the morning, yes?
10, 12 in the morning, I have my coffee here.
Very good. So let's start with the first question. Yeah, how do you drink this coffee? And then it would be great if you could give a quick introduction to our listeners. Who are you, and why do we have you in our CRO episode?
Sure. We're not just here to talk about coffee, I guess. My morning coffee ritual is 2 shots of espresso, about a couple ounces of water, and just a skosh of half and half. And I'll take 3 of those in the morning, which really gets the motor running for the rest of the day.
Sounds great, yeah.
So a bit about, just a short bit on me, and more importantly about Full Story, I would say. So I am technology entrepreneur is probably the right way to put it. I've been in software, SaaS, for lack of a better phrase, since 1990, the mid-90s. And have been fortunate to just wear a lot of different hats and a lot of high growth technology companies. We founded Full Story in 2014, actually after experiencing some pain that perhaps some of your listeners have experienced with other technology products out there, and I can explain that in a bit. We've grown quite a bit over those 8, coming up on 9 years of the business. We would say that we are a digital experience intelligence platform, which is a mouthful and may not mean much. It sounds like analyst speak. What that really is we invented a novel way to collect in a first-party way a very deep amount of data per visit. And we do that in a privacy-friendly way. And from that big, structured set of visit data, we can provide retroactive analytics on everything, everything that you could care about, without that step of event instrumentation, which we think creates some blind spots into the amount of data that you have. So charts and graphs and product analytics and web analytics and marketing analytics, that is what we do. But beyond that product analytics, we actually, through that deep set of data, can provide a bit more of a qualitative experience as well. So teams can understand when their visitor gets a bit confused, what does that actually feel like for the visitor? And then we provide some workflows for those teams to now work together. So a product manager that understands something isn't right can route it to an engineer who can then troubleshoot it in a way that they haven't been able to do in the past to find, fix, solve the problem, to improve the digital experience. And if you improve the digital experience, you usually improve the conversion rate and the revisit rate and revenue, and you do that in a lower cost sort of setting.
Yeah, very good summary. So today's topic that we want to discuss with you more in detail is the typical CRO dilemma. So the question is, how do I find out what to optimize? Yeah, that's the main question. Yeah. So from your experience, how would you tackle this topic with Full Story? Yeah.
Let me start just quickly with how, in a pre-Full Story world, you would go about doing this as someone that's in control of a digital experience. In past lives, you would have to know what is important ahead of time. Is clicking on the add to cart button an important moment in the user's journey? yes, I know intuitively that it is. And therefore, I'll instrument that event by having an engineer or a data engineer go in and write a little bit of bootstrap code so it phones home to an analytics system. Only then to say, well, was selecting size, perhaps on an e-commerce type flow, was selecting size an important moment? Oh, yes, that was. All right, let's go back through that instrumentation process again. And if you think about a visit as a mosaic, you probably get 10 tiles in that mosaic. Those are the tiles that you knew ahead of time were important. So with Full Story, what we do is we just capture all of the tiles, except for the ones that would make you uncomfortable: private information, credit card information, PII, those sorts of things. Set those aside. And so then what we can do is start to comb through all of the data using machine learning and sort of intelligent heuristics in order to identify where people are getting tripped up. So when we launched Full Story, we own the trademark on a phrase called a rage click. I don't know if you've heard us say this before, but a rage click, you have all done this as visitors of digital experiences, where you've tried to click a button and it didn't do exactly what you thought it would. So you click it again, and then you click it again, and then you click it, in a very furious way. Well, we listen for that pattern. And when we see that, we can trend it. We can see that it is spiked. And then you can take that actual session visit and look at it. And then it's taking that quantitative data. Really, a rage click is just a count of clicks in an algorithmic way, and then connect that quantitative data with the emotional data of looking at this poor visitor as they struggled through a path. And so that starts to surface opportunities that you didn't even know existed. I'll take a breath, but then I'll also say, take that basic concept we just talked about and think about it in a bigger way, where you can say a base conversion rate for any flow that I care about, from landing on the page to checkout or download, whatever is important for you. You can calculate that and compute a base conversion rate. And then Full Story can just start to throw data behind the scenes of that conversion rate and say, if there was a rage click on the third page of the flow, you didn't even have to ask. It impacted your conversion rate by 2 points. And if you annualize that, that cost you $5 million. Go look there. Or if it was slow, or if they saw something, or if their mouse just moved too long on the page, you can tell that they were looking. That's the future. That's how you understand where the opportunities are, is you don't have to ask the question. It's just given to you. The answer is given to you.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. Because I guess a lot of our listeners as well, they are asking themselves, what differs this sort of analytics system from classical analytics systems like Google Analytics. And I remember one former customer we had, a typical fashion industry customer, which was always asking, what's the problem on my page? I have very good products, very good prices, and people are not converting. And if I'm looking at the conversion funnel, I don't see anything extraordinary happening there. I just see that people are not really jumping into a basket and buying things. And by this session recordings that you just described, we found out that the main problem was actually that the people were coming on the page expecting a certain size of the product, and it was just not there, and they couldn't see it in their analytics data. So the reason why they were not converting was because people were not actually finding what they were looking for. They were on the right product, but not on the right color, not on the right size. And this was really one of the moments there where also we in the conversion optimization area saw the value of visualization tools that really help and show you what is the actual problem on the page.
It's a great example of both sort of that qualitative experience. You can see what was happening. Underlying that is a quantitative problem, if you will. I'm reading a book right now called Working Backwards. I don't know if you've heard of this book, but it's basically around how Amazon operates their business. And it's a very enlightening read for a relatively small company of 500 people to think about how Amazon does it. And one of the key conceits of the book in the way that Amazon operates is there are output metrics, your conversion rate, and then there are input metrics that will ultimately lead to that output metric of, say, a conversion rate. And Amazon took a long time to really dial in on their shopping experience. What was the key input metric that they cared about? And it started by saying, well, we want to have lots of PDP pages out there. The more PDP pages we have, the more people are going to buy from us. But then they realized lots of people never visited many of the PDP pages, but they had to carry things in inventory for those PDP pages that were never visited. So they updated the metric to be visited PDP pages. And then they sort of realized there was a problem where people would get to a PDP page, but something wouldn't be in inventory. And so they updated the metric again to say visited PDP page and saw is in stock. And so now that they know that that is the key metric that they need to pay attention to, they can really optimize around that experience. Again, if you have all of the data available to you, you get to explore that metric building process as somebody that cares about conversion rate to say, okay, turns out that we have inventory not showing up or size not showing up or color not showing up. If you didn't know ahead of time that you needed to have all of that data there, you can't build those metrics and monitor them ahead of time.
Definitely. Yeah. So it's, I think in our times, it's very important to have flexible analytic systems. Yeah. Because you might never know, yeah, as you just described, yeah, what sort of metric you want to have later on, yeah, and tools that allow also to have this sorts of flexible analytics data. I think really valuable, yeah. So it's definitely a trend. Yeah. What other trends do you see in this market at the moment?
Well, of course, native mobile continues to be not even just native mobile, but the mobile experience and designing for the two flows is something that we see our customers spending a lot of time on. There's just more and more moving to mobile. I would say I'd be a bad leader if I didn't say the word machine learning during a podcast about my company. But I do think that we are really at a moment where machine learning, as it pertains to the digital experience, is about to unlock some real insight. If you've not played with ChatGPT, certainly everybody in the world has at this point. That experience, the first time I played with it at least, felt very much like the first time I held an iPhone in my hand. It just felt like, oh, this is the future. I understand it. And so go back to conversion rate right now. And I would tell you that most companies have to start with a hypothesis about why something might not be converting. And then it's sort of needle in a haystack hunting to say, well, is it by browser? Is it a browser problem? Is it a layout problem? Was it a latency issue? Was it out of stock? Not the right color? Why? And in that's a human just having to point and click their way through all these permutations of what could be wrong. I just think that, we are doing some of this now, but it's only the first inning of what the future will behold, which is just you're going to log in and you're going to have a sorted list of by dollars, what is impacting, what you need to fix, perhaps getting close to, and here's the fix for what could happen. How often is a failed digital experience that leads to a phone call? That phone call is just a recreation of the failed digital experience. Why bother, right? Why, as soon as that failure mode happens within the flow, there isn't a chat-like window that comes up that says, hey, Michael, were you trying to buy blue shoes, but they were out of stock? I can take care of that for you right now with either an actual agent on the other side or just the machine doing it for you, having access to a deeper set of APIs that aren't available in the surface area of the UI that your designers have already built.
Do you see actually that the companies in the US follow the trend of machine learning?
Yeah, very, very much so. Since the launch of ChatGPT, as I spend time with my customers and prospective customers, that's all anybody really wants to talk about right now is like, we know what you do, and that's very good. How can you and your data help train our models and do different things so we can offer better products to our customers? And I just think that there's going to be a lot of investment area over the next year or two in that space.
Yeah, definitely. That's also what we see here. Yeah? Even in the sometimes a little bit lagging European market, we see a big momentum at the moment for it. Yeah, and sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I was going to say lagging in something like machine learning right now might be a week because it's moving so fast. A week behind is not really that behind.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So normally we take a little bit longer to adapt in this European market, I would say. Yeah, and in such a fast-moving market like the AI market at the moment. We will see. Maybe this is also changing, and we're adapting faster. So it will be interesting to see. But I definitely share your opinion. Yeah. So also for us, we are investigating a lot in how to actually make conversion optimization better with AI. I definitely see also a trend when it comes to A/B testing. Yeah, that a lot of the A/B tests companies are currently running might not be necessary in the future. Yeah? Because as you just described, a potential AI could tell them what to do there, and you don't need to test it there because also an A/B test is never the 100% truth. Yeah? It's just a test with a certain degree of significance. Yeah, but that's definitely an interesting momentum also for us in the version optimization and A/B testing industry. Yeah? So, what is it that you do there to actually make sure that you get on this track? What would you recommend companies like yours or other companies that want to implement machine learning? What are the learnings that you had so far with?
Well, what I encourage us to do at Full Story, because we have a large research and development team, and they're very excited about going and playing with all the new tools that are coming out. And I don't think that that's wrong necessarily. You should play with the tools to understand what is possible. But I think what's important is to start with the outcome and the value that you think can be delivered, because machine learning is basically just going to pull the friction out of the middle of what's happening. And so what do you want? You want a perfect digital experience. How do you drive towards perfection? It's going to be faster flow through site, better match of the visitor characteristics and the experience and the content that they're going to see. And so I think just dreaming big about what the outcome is and then figuring out how the tools can unlock that is probably the better go than just to start by saying, here's a cool bunch of stuff. Let's start building in a general direction.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think to start with, is this tool really relevant for the outcome I want to achieve, actually? Good. But coming back to conversion rate optimization, how can the data that you collect with Full Story used for conversion rate optimization? Do you have any case studies that you can actually share with us?
Yes, very close to your neighborhood, Mammoth is an outdoor Swiss brand and a Full Story customer. And with Full Story, we were able to help them quickly identify some mobile workflow issues. And by simply using that superset of data that I talked about, coupled with the actual let's go in and see and do a bit of forensic analysis on what's there. There was a problem in the filter menu. Minor, led to an 8% conversion improvement by just tuning that filtering menu on the native mobile experience. And again, there's just so many different permutations of what could be wrong. If you identify those big rocks and move them out of the way, you can see tremendous upside there.
And what's the magic behind combining qualitative analysis with quantitative analysis? How could you convince the analytics teams, which I think are sometimes very quantitative driven, to work more with qualitative data?
Well, I think we're all human deep down, and as a result of that, we have an innate empathy, and we should want to have an innate empathy with our visitors and our customers. And you can show quantitative data to a group of executives or engineers that shows something that's moving down, and you can know intuitively that that is bad. You can know objectively that down is bad, but all it takes is coupling the quantitative of this is bad, but is it a really problem, with the emotional experience of seeing what bad actually looks like, and it drives action in a way that it hasn't before. Think about a CEO at a company emailing into his product team to say, I just tried to check out and it didn't go very well. Okay, that's bad. How many people did that impact? 400. What did it look like when there was a big error flashing at me on screen? Seeing that, especially if you're a product team and you want to build perfect products, you take it personally and it drives action, because you do not want that flashing awful error out in the wild. So it's the quant and the qual. That's humanity, and that's what helps drive us forward.
What would you say is the main advantage from a qualitative analytics tool versus a quantitative analytics tool?
First of all, I think you've got to have both for sure. In coupling them together is the real unlock. But the idea that you can connect with the frustration is something that is very hard to actually quantify. And so, somebody does visit your site, they do put something in a cart, and they do check out. Quantitatively, success. If you see it and you see that they struggle mightily throughout that process, you may walk away thinking they're not going to come back. They're not going to revisit. And you would never know that with the quantitative just alone. It is seeing and experiencing that frustration that will help you have second order and third order effects through word of mouth and revisit rates.
If you want to implement such a tool, what criteria would you take care of? So what are the main reasons for choosing such a solution here?
Sure. Well, I think, for starters, you want to consider what sort of ongoing support is necessary as you bring in a tool to help you. There are plenty of tools out there, and every vendor in the world is going to tell you there's this beautiful and easy. I think that it is important to try a tool and play with the tool and understand it. In order to experiment with a tool and validate that it's a good fit for your business, it should be easy to implement. And I think that is critical. I think we are living in an era where privacy is as important as it's ever been. And so the trust that you have with that vendor that you're going to use from an analytics perspective, it has to be something that is going to make you feel confident that you'll be able to maintain the trust with your visitors out there. And so push really hard on privacy. Can you make sure that sensitive data never gets into the vendor space? Do they have tools to make sure that we're constantly monitoring for any sort of slippage of data? And if so, can they cordon it off and delete it and just make sure that that data is safe? Those things are just foundational. Beyond that, what you get in, it needs to be a usable product. It should be a pleasant experience to navigate through that. If you're a digital experience company and you're not delivering your customers a good digital experience, it means you're not using your own product enough.
Yeah, that's a lot of very good takeaways so far. Yeah. So how would you see our European market? We just discussed it. Yeah. So what would you say are differentiators between the US and EU at the moment? Yeah. Are we more into the old analytic systems, or how would you describe the difference? Yeah.
I wouldn't say that there is a huge difference. I mean, we're relatively new. We've got people in the German market. We have European data center operations. So we have put a big push to make sure that we're successful in Europe. If there's one area where I'd say the United States is a little bit more gung-ho than the German market, or Europe in particular, it would be in the realm of privacy. And again, we put so much emphasis on that aspect of the product that we almost feel welcome, because we did it because it was the right thing to do. You evaluate on it and you appreciate it we're trying to, no offense to some of my United States customers, we're trying to showcase all of our privacy and security features. And they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. In the German market, it is appreciated. And it is something that it's necessary. And so I think that that's an important difference.
Yeah, privacy is key, definitely. Yeah. So I would say a lot of German and European companies are a little bit cautious first there. They need to check things first there, especially privacy, and then implement things. While I think, in other parts of the world, people are testing things and then check some things for the ongoing implementation. Yeah.
I would say one of the other differences that we see in Europe is there is a bit more of a mobile focus than perhaps in the US. And so that native mobile app experience and the native mobile web experience does seem to be a much higher emphasis in Europe. I'm not sure I know the answer as to why that is. Perhaps, actually, do you guys, can you enlighten me as to why that would be?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because I think we are not so different when it comes to this one. Yeah? I mean, there are a lot of countries worldwide where almost everyone is just using mobile devices to get into the internet. Yeah, but for Europe, I would say it's more this combination of desktop and mobile. Yeah.
But I had a chat with a client just before, and she also said when they had conversion rate optimization, first they only focused on desktop, and then they suddenly saw that their main target group is only mobile, and that was the first thing. Okay, shit, we need to go mobile first with all our designs.
That's right. And it's tricky to try to balance between the two, right? And when you take that web experience and you just size it down and that snap line comes in to where it's mobile, you can get some jittery experiences if you're not careful.
So our designer, she needs to have two different designs. I always want to have one for mobile and one for desktop, because otherwise it doesn't look that good.
Absolutely. But it's the long tail of pages where you maybe don't realize that, oh, we forgot about that one page. And so and by the way, here's another example of a heuristic if you have all of the data. So how often are people pinching and zooming is a heuristic that we monitor and we can measure. So if your design is good over time, you should see theoretically less pinching and zooming. And that's a metric that some of our customers track, is to try to make the pinch zoom metric go down over time.
As a founder, I would be interested as well to know a little bit about how did you found this company? Yeah. So what was the reason? Yeah. What was the problem you wanted to solve when starting the whole thing? Yeah.
There's a multifaceted answer. The truth of it is, when we started Full Story, the founders, it was myself and three other gentlemen. We started through friendship. We really just enjoyed each other's company. We had worked at a company before that got acquired, and I sort of felt like we didn't get enough time together, and we really enjoyed building things. And so we all went our separate ways for a bit, and we wanted to get the band back together and build something new. And we actually started working on a product that was not Full Story. It was a software as a service application for marketers. And we launched it into the world, and we were just trying to understand how were our customers interacting with our application. And what I talked about earlier about event instrumentation and having to know what was important ahead of time drove us crazy. It's a flawed paradigm, and I wish I could take credit for it, but my two co-founders are brilliant computer scientists, and they're very ambitious thinkers, and thought there has to be a better way to collect all of this data in a private way and structure it so we can get that retroactive insight. We started building some proof of concepts for ourselves. We showed those to some friends. They said, that's a better business than your other business. And so they said it very nicely, but we pivoted and launched in 2014.
Great story. Yeah. So unfortunately, we are already very ahead of time. Yeah. But it was very interesting, Scott. Yeah. Very interesting product, very interesting topic. What would you say are the main takeaways for our listeners today? Yeah. We had so many interesting things, but what is the one thing? Yeah.
Sure. I have a knack for saying very obvious things, but we believe that the problems and the opportunities of an improved digital experience are in the data. And if you don't have that data, you cannot get at the problems and opportunities. And so it's just, we're in an era where you can get that data. And so go get that data in a privacy-friendly way.
That was a nice one, yeah. You also talked about the book recommendation before. Do you have another one for our listeners?
So actually, this one has been pretty interesting. We hire quite a bit at Full Story, and this book called Who is a very methodical, research-based approach on how to interview candidates to try to make sure that you're getting as much signal from the candidate and eliminate mishires. And so there's a chapter in this book that I have marked, and I will tell people that I interview, hey, look, it turns out that I'm not very good at interviewing, so I'm just going to use the methodology of this book here. I apologize if it sounds cold, but research says that it's the most effective way to interview, and it has been a very helpful approach.
So they're getting nervous when you come up with the book, yeah?
I hope it makes them less nervous, because it's not me, it's the book.
Yeah, we definitely will look at this book. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I have one last question. If you could decide who will be our next guest for this podcast, who would you wish?
Does it have to be an attainable guest?
No, it can also be an interesting guest.
Yeah, who could inspire us?
I tell you, I really am very, very interested in Amazon right now and the way that they operate as a business. And I think if you could get Bezos or Andy Jaffe to come in and talk about how they run their business at scale, I think a secret look into what they're doing would just be really good. If you can get them, let me know. I would definitely.
Okay, we'll try our best.
If you have connections, just let us know. Yeah. But you know what? I will buy so many copies of this book, yeah, that you recommended. Maybe they will see us in their charts, yeah, as the best buying customer of the month. Yeah, we have a chance to do it. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll get to meet soon. I'm going to be in Germany for DMXCO later in the year. So Full Story will be there. It'd be great to meet in real life.
Yeah, we will also be there.
So.
Yeah, so you are definitely invited. Yeah, to some coffee.
Beer.
We already know how to do it now. Yeah, or beer. Yeah. Great. Yeah, so it was very inspiring. Thank you very much, Scott. Yeah, you have a great start in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much.